right, so how do we change our school system forever, right? How do we do that? And this came about because of a controversy that happened recently in my local community. It was surrounding the See You at the Flag. I'm not going to go into it. There was a lot of people on Facebook going back and forth, frustrated about it. Some on this side, some on that side. I get both sides, right? I understand where both sides are coming from. I'm not going to go into the vent over that because that's not the point. But I do want to talk about why both sides are venting, right? And why it continues to happen and why it's actually not going to get any better until this one thing happens. So the whole event that they were frustrated about was over a religious activity that was taking place before school, and it was being advertised in some way. And they felt like that advertisement you should be advertising on a platform, on an educational platform. I get that. That's fine. I get it. Take it down. Not a big deal. But I think the vent from this side and why they're frustrated is because every time that some kind of Christian activity might happen across the country, right? And it's being advertised to come and pray for your school and pray for the kids and pray for your community. There's always a vent from this other side. It's like, oh, anti-religion, right? Secular humanism, right? Postmodern, we live our own lives and do our own thing. Keep your religion out of our face and keep it on in your churches. And, you get all this vent, and it's very loud, and it's very just get at you, right? I mean, they're very vocal people. The problem this side has, and I don't even know if they know how to articulate it, is we all know that your religion is being presented in the schools, right? Secular humanism, postmodernism, right? The idea that, there is no afterlife, there is no spiritual realm, right? Darwinian evolution by natural selection, it's a bunch of garbage. It ought to have been thrown out a long time ago, but it's still there. So we know that your worldview is being presented to our children's every day, and we already deal with that. Right? We already deal with the secular humanist worldview, with the materialist worldview, not grounded in science at all, right? We put up with that. We shouldn't, but we do. And so when we advertise a little event preschool where we just want to pray with people and pray for our communities, and you complain about it, kind of starts getting us a little frustrated on our side, right? I mean, your worldview is leading to no intrinsic value, right? Children believing in no objective morality. They get to do whatever they want to do. They can be furries if they want to, right? They can treat other people like garbage because they have no intrinsic value, right? I mean, this is cosmic soup struck by lightning, DNA dance to the beat of your own drum, right? You like to borrow from the Christian ethics, but you don't want to undergird it anywhere meaningful, right? So that's what you're teaching our children, right? They have no meaning in life, no purpose. Go out and do your own thing. Do what makes you happy. And when you're done being happy, whatever you want to do, right? Doesn't matter. I mean, this is the honesty of your position, right? This is where it leads. I know you don't want to talk about the honesty of it and where it takes children, but that's the reality. Okay, that's the reality. And so we're frustrated when all we want to do is pray for them and tell them they have value, they have worth, there is objective morality. They should love their neighbor. They should love their enemies, right? They should do all that. And you like all that, but as soon as we say, but all of that is undergirded by God, right? The creator of us all. No, not that, right? The only thing that sustains it. You don't want that, okay? Okay, fine. Here's the problem with the education system, okay? See, the education system, and the reason you have vent from both sides, likes to operate in the gray, right? It likes to stay in the shadows. It doesn't want to take a hard line on anything, right? Because when you're in the gray, you can be in the gray, right? A kid can come and be a furry in the classroom, right? And what the hell is a furry? That's a good question. I don't know either, really. I guess a kitty cat of some sort. I don't know. You can identify as it now, though, I've heard. You can come do that, right? And that's okay. 50, 60 years ago, no, that wouldn't have been okay. But it is now, right? We're in a new, more progressive age with more wisdom now, supposedly, right? Supposedly. And so they can shift in the gray. And when somebody complains, they're like, oh, okay. We're not upholding that, but, we don't tell them no. So they do draw lines, right, of some degree, right? But they like to stay and shift. But if I decided to take my 7 or 8 year old and I said, hey, I want you to go to school, and at recess today, I want you to identify as a nudist. Take all your clothes off and run around the playground. Would you be okay with that? No, right? You're not okay with that. Why not? You go, well, that means people might see them. And I go, okay, so you have more of a problem with a kid being naked, which is far more natural because it's a physical issue, versus a kid identifying as a kitty cat or a furry, which is a mental issue. You're okay with that, but not with this, right? And so what I'm showing you is they will draw lines. They just will draw lines based upon the loudest voice. And so they are complicit in causing people to get more riled up. Right? They cause the people to get riled up, because what we've learned with the education system is the people that scream the loudest get their way. And typically we just don't scream all that loud on the right, Christian conservatives, right? And so you've caused this, right? The education system, you've caused this. And how do you stop it? Well, you stop it by finally drawing lines and communicating to everyone where the line is. Because you see, we all draw lines in life, every one of us, right? Even me, right? I say marriage is for a man and a woman, and the gay person or the lesbian might go, I can't believe you'd say that. You're so close-minded. And I go, okay, should you be able to marry, 10 women, right? Should you be able to marry a donkey? Should you be able to marry what? Not only can't do that though, right? We all have lines, every one of us. The question is, where are they, and who decides the lines? That's the question. And so what I want from and what we ought to demand, not just what I want, what we ought to demand from our school system is a clear line over everything. Where are the lines? Stop letting your school system operate in the shadows and in the gray where they like to be comfortable, because they don't have a spine and they don't have a pair and they don't want to take a line, because then the real confrontation happens. Do you understand? When you draw lines and people know where you stand, now we can actually start to discuss things. That's why they don't do it, because you're inviting the conversation. You're inviting in the frustration. But the reality is, as soon as you understand the lines and where everybody's at, we can have meaningful conversation, and lines can start to shift. And we can start to say, does this line make more sense than that line? Or does that line make more sense than this line? What does the evidence say? What positions should we hold in our community for our local schools? See, the reason people exist and they don't tell you where their lines are and they're all shady about it is because they don't want the conversation. They want this comfortable little ooey gooey, and they'll just, defend and deflect as much as possible. And a loud person, they'll give them what they want and hope that side stays quiet. And when they're loud, they'll go, here's this. And they're just trying to do all this nonsense. It's called spineless. Find a spine, find a pair, and draw some flipping lines so we can start having a conversation. That's how we fix all this. That's it. It's that simple. And then we will start to have the conversation that matters. See you in the next video.